It's a gear tester here, and welcome to my initial impressions video on the SCHRADE PH1. This is a stout little fixed blade knife, and it's relatively inexpensive. If you can find it online or at a local retailer or potentially on eBay. I recently was able to purchase this knife about 9 months ago at a local store. They had some old stock of this knife. It appears that SCHRADE was manufacturing this knife about in 2010 and has continued to do so, but that production on the PH1 may have stopped or may be stopping here pretty soon. So if you're interested in this knife, I would encourage you to pick it up right now. What I like about the PH1 and what initially attracted me to this knife is it cost around $30, $35, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less than that. But for the price point, it has the feel of a very custom knife. So if you look at the handle, the way the handle scales are sculpted here, you know, it's a pretty nice looking knife. And it kind of deviates from SCHRADE's general equation in which they value functionality over looks. And it's a pretty nice looking knife. Plastic scales here that form the grip, but I like the way they're sculpted. It fits my hand very nicely. It has a relatively short blade. It's got a 3-inch cutting surface, and it's basically 3.5 inches from the tip of the blade to where the handle begins here. It is just over 8 inches long, okay, from the bottom of the handle to the tip of the knife blade. And I really like it. I've been doing some carving here, and I've used this knife over the last 9 months off and on, okay? This knife does have some fit and finish problems. You can see right there that there's some little gaps in between the knife blade and the handle where it fits in there. And it's not perfect, but you got to keep the price point in mind, right? That this is not a $200 knife. This is not an $80 knife. This is a $35 knife. The sheath that it comes with is a very basic sheath, nothing fancy. It is leather. It's not super high quality leather, and it just friction fits in there, and it actually does a very nice job of fitting into that sheath. So I've just been here doing some carving, working on a tri-stick, so I've got a little notch there and some other little carved areas on this stick today because I just wanted to continue using this knife and thinking about it here as I prepare to do the full-length review on this blade. You know, I'm actually really impressed with this knife, and if you can find it, whether that's on eBay or at a local brick-and-mortar store or online, I would encourage you to buy it because I actually find it very usable. The shorter blade I initially didn't like. I tend to like longer bladed knives for chopping and hacking. But it's done a great job here carving, and one of the features that I really like about the SCHRADE PH1, that stands for Professional Hunter 1, is the fact that it has a hollow ground blade. So rather than it just being smooth here, rather than it just being like a flat cut here on the blade, they actually ground in, which actually thins the blade. You can actually feel it when you do that, and it thins the blade and makes it a better cutter, a better slicer. And so, you know, I can tell you what, it just does a great job of carving, and I'm actually very impressed with this blade. And currently, it would come highly recommended from me, the gear tester. If you end up watching this review to this point and you really want a SCHRADE PH1 just from what you've seen and the price point and the little bit of information that I've shared with you here in this initial impressions review, you can purchase the SCHRADE PH2, which seems like an identical knife. Sometimes they have wooden handles. They're a little bit more expensive. But if you're having a hard time finding the SCHRADE PH1, I would have you look for the SCHRADE PH2, and I think it looks like it's just basically the similar knife with a couple different options in the handle scales and maybe closer to the $40 price range, but there you go. The SCHRADE PH1. I like it, and I think it's a cool little knife. It was an unexpected purchase. If you like this video, if you found it useful or helpful or interesting, I would encourage you to subscribe to my channel for more quality video reviews on the topics of shooting, camping, and survival gear. This is the Gear Tester signing off.